Sir.
Yeah, okay. So good evening, friends. It's a pleasure to be back again this Sunday. We scheduled it in the evening because this time was more convenient to Chidanandaji. And as you all know, our guest speaker is Swami Chidanand today. First of all, I want to extend a very warm welcome to Swamiji and also express our thank for Swamiji to sparing his time and being with us. Chidanandaji is going to talk on the theme Some Words of the Rishis. Do not be surprised to find the flavor of Krishna's teachings in them. I'm not going to introduce Chidanandaji because all of us know him so very well, so there is no need really to introduce him. So I'll request Chidanandaji to please begin your discourse, and once you are finished, maybe after 15 minutes to an hour, then there could be a question answer session. With these words, I'll request Swamiji to start.
Thank you very much, Dubeji. And we have gathered this Sunday evening with a different topic than the usual titles. As we have already said, you will not be surprised if you find the distinct flavor of Krishnaji's teachings in these words of yore that are mostly from the Upanishads of this land. And I will neither mention the Rishi's name, nor do I know on most of the occasions, for in many Upanishads, there is no name of the Rishi who said it. There is a saying, Ekam sad vipraha bahudha vadanti. Truth is one, and wise people from different parts of the world express it in different ways. In that spirit, we take a look at what the Rishis of ancient times had said with respect to certain profound questions of our life. We have more than 100 Upanishads recognized as authentic. However, some 10 of them are regarded as major Upanishads. They were considered major because some great minds like Adi Shankaracharya wrote elaborate commentaries on them. Perhaps some other Upanishads also have significant teachings, but because no Acharyas wrote commentaries on them, they took a little bit of a back seat. Therefore, without going to facts and figures or names of various texts, I will plunge into certain statements said in the Upanishads, and I may at one place quote a line from Bhagavad Gita also. I am sharing simple slides. Let me know if you are unable to see them. Your silence makes me believe the slide has come upon the screen. Yes. The first slide just has the title of this evening's talk, Some Words of the Rishis. Do not be surprised if you find a distinct flavor of Krishnaji's teachings in them. We straight away take a statement from Aitareya Upanishad, which is from Rig Veda, and this statement happens to be also called a Mahavakya, a great statement. Let's not go into why some statements are called great statements. The word great makes a lot of sense to us anyhow. That should be enough for the present. This Mahavakya, Prajnanam Brahma, has just this to say, that awareness is the ultimate truth. In what sense is awareness called the ultimate truth? In life, as you and I grow up, we attach value to different things at different times. In childhood, toys may be the ultimate for us. Delicious food that our mother would give to us, perhaps is the ultimate. As we grow up, various interests, professional ambition, and various men and women become very important to us. Leave these things outside. These outside things, let us keep away. In our own personality, generally we begin to appreciate maybe our health, maybe our good looks, maybe our energy levels, and the fact that our senses, eyes, ears, nose, they are called indriyas in the traditional language, are very important to us. When we see somebody deaf, we say how fortunate we are that we don't have any of these handicaps. But are the senses, ears, eyes, nose, etc., the ultimate? Then there are these intellectuals in this world who get so attached to intellectualism and they worship thought. They worship scholarship. They worship their own knowledge. They like to express their knowledge and go about with the air of superiority. They put down somebody else's opinion and secretly or openly experience pleasure. In the context of these things, indriyas, manaha, buddhi, prana, and so on, the Upanishads, in fact, engage in pretty long exploration, analysis, questioning, and going deeper and deeper. So what we have here, a statement of the Rishi of Aitareya Upanishad, is the culmination of that kind of inquiry and exploration. Not the senses, not the organs of action, not the mind, not the intellect which can extend its own frontiers of knowledge. None of them is the ultimate, but awareness is the ultimate truth. Prajnanam Brahma. Prajnanam is not Indriya, not Buddhi, not Manaha, not Prana, not Deha, not, of course, our wealth and degrees we have, etc. So 2 words about this before we proceed. This awareness, it has been called a great light within ourselves. That light is reflected in the thoughts. That light also expresses through our eyes and ears, but it is the light which makes all of them gain some reflected light. There is another Upanishad which has the statement, borrowing light from the ultimate truth, connecting here this prajnanam. Borrowing light from the ultimate truth, all other sources of light function. Tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati is a very thought-provoking statement. We now go to another Upanishad from Aitareya of Rigveda. We go to Mundaka of Atharva Veda. There is an extraordinary question over there. And in this Upanishad, the student who asked this question is named Shaunaka. He asked the teacher called Angiras. And the question is, first let me read the liberal English translation. What is it gaining an insight into which there is no need to know anything more or anything else? The original words run like this. Kasminnu bhagavo vidnate sarvamidam vidnatam bhavati. What is that? Knowing which all is known. That means the inadequacy you and I suffer When somebody knows 7 languages and we know only 2, something pinches us, doesn't it? When somebody says he just came back from a tour where he visited some foreign country for the 7th time, and in that sense, he has been to some 22 countries, some of us get a little bit, dejected. Oh, I never went out of this country. We get a chance. So in money, in knowledge, in places that we have visited, in skills that we possess, in 100 areas, isn't it true that you and I feel our heart is sinking? The question in Mundokopanishad has a tremendous significance. There is a certain state of understanding, there is a certain outlook, there is a coming upon a awakening where nothing makes us feel low. Somebody may have gone to 20 countries. I haven't left my home state, let us say. Who cares? Not in the spirit of some kind of indifference and arrogance, but through pure understanding. Does it matter whether I have gone to Timbuktu or not? Does it matter whether I know Japanese or not? It's a certain understanding. Then there is no need to know anything more. In fact, doing a little juggling with words, that issue, that same scenario can be described. Is there a step taking which the journey gets over? Can the first step be right away the last step? We further move now to another portion of that same Mundaka Upanishad, where there is a picturesque metaphor of 2 birds sitting on the same tree. One of the birds, call it the first bird, is hopping from branch to branch, eating a fruit here, eating a fruit there, and very active. But most of the time, that first bird is unhappy. And then there is the second bird in this very puzzling metaphor, which anashnan, not eating at all. Ashnan means eating. Anashnan anyaha dvitiyaha abhichakashiti. Prakasha means shining. Abhichakashiti has the same verbal root, kash. The face of the second bird is radiant, though it's not eating any fruit at all. Friends, this statement has far-reaching significance and implications. A lot of us, the humanity, are constantly doing this, doing that, looking for stability, security, looking for lasting happiness in this place, in that job, in that position, in this relationship, in becoming this, in being that. Rama Rama. Permit me to say Rama Rama today, it is Rama Navami. We are looking for stability in umpteen places, but really, does the field of activity, does activity bring peace at all? Or is it a self-knowing? Is it when in quiet looking within, we see fault lines in our beliefs, in our attachments? Upanishads seem to say to us, if only we slow down, take a second look at our own psychology, we perhaps will debug our thinking, and perhaps without going for another assignment, another position, without going to Australia or Africa, without wearing yet another hat, etc., peace just gets discovered or uncovered. Then we would be the second bird, not pursuing things out of activity and agitation. The second bird quietly is superbly happy. Then how can I miss one of the most profound statements in the Upanishads. This appears 4 times in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, especially in the mouth of Yajnavalkya, a great Rishi of unimaginable brilliance, at the same time of a certain realization, which is more important. The expression is neti neti. Neti is a combination of 2 words, not this, not this. That is na iti, na iti. Na iti, na iti. Saying twice, perhaps to imply extra emphasis. That repetition, neti, has its own interpretations. I would for the present take it as implying extra stress. It's by dismissal of the false. It is by negating the false that we may come upon truth. We can never know truth as though it is an object in front of our eyes. Neither the senses, nor the mind, nor even our intellect can ever objectify truth. To say I know truth is a statement that calls for re-examination of the very integrity of that person. Though not mentioned here, I must passingly say, in another Upanishad, Kena of Samaveda, it is said in a poetic way, Avijnatam vijanatam, vijnatam avijanatam, yasya amatam tasya matam, matam yasya na vedasaha. That means those who say with chest up, I know the truth, do not know. And those who know the truth may not talk about it. So in apparently self-contradictory statements, the Upanishads have gained a reputation for pointing to certain greater heights of human discovery. The liberating insight is through dismissal of the false. Through dismissal, I have also repeated the expression dismissal in the translation because original has neti, neti. Sri Ramakrishna, the guru of Vivekananda, gave an example. 2 boys went to Gurukula and they stayed 20 years or not the 20 years, say 10 or 12 years in Gurukula and came back. When they came back, both of them were looking so knowledgeable. And when the father asked his first son, tell me what you studied. He asked the second son. Both of them say a whole list of their syllabus, their curriculum. Then comes the interesting part. In front of many villagers of the locality, the father says to the first son, did they teach you Brahman, Pradnanam Brahma? Did they tell you that insight which can set a man free? The first boy said, yes, yes. And he gave out so many Upanishad mantras. The supreme truth is this, the supreme truth is that, the supreme truth can be known only by negation, blah, blah, blah. He went on and on. The father had to say to him, thank you, my dear son, please stop. Then the father asked the second boy, my boy, tell me what that liberating insight is, which your gurus might have told you in the Gurukula. And in this very humorous story, which is very insightful, the second boy just puts his head down and does not say a single word. He doesn't describe the truth at all. Sri Ramakrishna's parable is an elaboration of the Upanishadic statement, neti neti. Somebody attended my Vedanta class and went home and his wife asked him, what did Swamiji tell you in the class today? He just put his head down, did not say anything at all. Next day he reported to me, he and his wife had the biggest fight last night, more than ever before. So don't try this with your spouse, but please appreciate how truth cannot be conceptualized. It is in letting go of concepts that one knows what it is. In the Kathopanishad, again, there are statements which make our eyebrows go up. One of these mantras says, Matva, upon knowing this, upon gaining this insight, Harsha Shokau Jahati. And beginners with Vedanta may say, I would like to let go of my sorrow, shok. I don't want to be free of Harsha. Harsha is very desirable. I'm attending all these classes, Swamiji, to get more and more Harsha. I want to be upbeat. I want to be dancing in joy every day. Why is the Upanishad saying one lets go of both Harsh and Shok? सुख दुख दोनों को छोड़ देता है. हरे हरे हमको जो सिर्फ दुख छोड़ना है, सुख क्यों छोड़े हम? Someone may say. Again, that is where this is a bit of a higher plateau. Harsha and Shoka both refer to, as we have taken care to translate, pleasure, which is egoistic elation. Ah, I won and that enemy of mine lost. That kind of Harsha. And some other time, sorrow, Shoka also of that kind. Everybody made it. I only lagged behind. I became a laughing stock. People made a fool of me, etc. This I, me, my image got tarnished, etc. That is Shoka referred to here. That kind of elation and dejection revolving around the self are dismissed. It is said the liberating insight frees you from that kind of roller coaster ride. You will continue to enjoy the beauty of a rainbow, and you will continue to feel aghast or shocked if in front of your eyes a scooter were to hit a little child and the child is down and blood is flowing. You will be sad. Saying that I am a Sthita Prajna or something, you will not be standing like a statue. What is very human, what is very natural to any intelligent life, such joy and sorrow will not leave us till our last breath. But through the liberating insight, through certain awakening of consciousness, we have the ability to say goodbye to those egoistic ups and downs. In the Upanishad tradition, I must quickly make a comment. If you read some translation here and there, the word knowledge and expressions like knowing that are used. Because the original Sanskrit used such words like jnana, veda, gnatva, viditva, drishtva, upon seeing. Please do not misunderstand the word knowing over there as the accumulative knowledge. Rather, if you are familiar with allied literature, you know that the accumulated knowledge can never set you free. It is a certain insight which cuts through information, which has nothing to do with adding information, heaping up information. In wisdom, one lets go of the pursuit of both pleasure, which is egoistic relation, and pain, which is egoistic dejection. We have a couple of more statements to share with you. After that, I will be happy to involve or join some interaction. There is often the query of advanced human minds. Is there anything untouched by time? In Kathopanishad, the 14-year-old boy Nachiketa asks about something beyond time in his question itself. And the teacher, Yamadharmaraj, answers in the affirmative. There is something which has no time coming into the picture. I have taken just one line. The whole mantra also is fascinating. Anyatra dharmad, anyatra adharmat. Is there something which doesn't fall into the two boxes of right and wrong, virtue and vice? One moment. Virtue and vice. Anyatra dharmad, anyatra adharmat, anyatra kritat, akritat. Krita is effect, akrita is cause. Is there something which doesn't belong to the camp either of cause or of effect? The whole phenomenal world is full of causes and effects. A seed is a cause, the tree is the effect. An egg is the cause and a chicken is the effect. Your impatient behavior was the cause, and people distancing themselves from you could be the effect. So on so many levels and in so many contexts, causes and effects are recognized. Then comes the question, Anyatra bhutacha bhavyacha, as Nachiketa. Bhuta means past, bhavya means future, bhavishya, and by implication, vartamana or bhavat is also included. He asks, is there something untouched by past, present, and future? Which is a very thought-provoking question. Untouched by time, that is, that insight itself has nothing to do with memories, nothing to do with the boundaries that time zones create. And what is more, in an extension of this understanding, the so-called search for truth also has nothing to do with time. The so-called evolution, the so-called I am getting near truth, give me just some more time, I will be there, etc., are to be laughed at in this highest wisdom. Therefore, the timeless truth has been an area of interest in these deliberations of the Rishis of yore. Now, this is in fact a departure from Upanishads, though whatever is said here is an echo of Upanishadic statements somewhere or the other place. Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, he who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is the wisest person. Karmani akarmaya pashyet, akarmani cha karmayaha, saha buddhiman. Very strange statement. How can we see inaction in action and action in action? That is where we call it philosophy that helps us break the barriers of ordinary, usual thinking. Ordinarily, we are much impressed by somebody is running about, somebody building huge structures. A friend of yours builds a huge school, and wow, the floor is shining, the windows are sparkling, and publicity. And today you have so much power of media, publicity, everything is made to look wonderful. But is there true learning? Probably somewhere else in a village, if the teacher and student were gifted, were blessed somehow with a spirit of inquiry, under a tree, more learning could be taking place. So what meets with our eyes doesn't have to be great. So in various ways, action could be inaction. Inaction could be action. So the question arises, as we have put it at the bottom in this slide, what is true action? Generally, we measure, we evaluate action in terms of what is visible, but without going into much details, really that would be action, where more than what is visible, there is the understanding, there is the seeing, there is love, there is freedom from personal agenda, there is freedom from operation of the self. Then even a little leaf gifted means a lot to us. Whereas if there is some hidden agenda, even 10 lakhs of rupees that somebody gives to us is not action. Somebody gives a flower from my own garden, he plucks and gives to me. But then if there is love in that gift, it is action. And the other guy giving me 10 lakhs and talking sweet language may not be giving. He is only planning to take 10 times that from me pretty soon. So countless are the examples where what impresses as dynamic action is really no action. And what fails to impress in the beginning, and we may even misunderstand that person to be sitting idle. There is an instance about some painter who sat near a lake simply on a stone for days on end, and the whole town was getting sick of that picture. Who is this man? Where has he come from? And why is he sitting near the pond near our village? We should chase him away, etc. And later on, they came to know that after watching the lake for 10 days, apparently not doing anything, he had brought out a beautiful painting, which in the cities finally sold for some high value and so on. Then the villagers said, oh, was it the same man whom we took for a madcap, sitting idly, wasting his youth near our village, and so on. So in simple and other examples, we realize karma could be akarma could be karma. Now, in the last slide, we have Kathopanishad again from Yajurveda, saying, in every one of us, there is a jyoti, and there's an adjective attached. Jyotihi iva adhumakaha. Dhuma means smoke. You know, when you and I have the self operating in us, then we may be very smart, we may be thinking, we may be talking high stuff, we may be traveling places, and we may be beating others in the arguments and so on. But if the self is in operation in us, it is a flame with a lot of smoke. Kathopanishad asks us, can you explore within yourself and discover the light within you with no smoke? Jyotihiva adhumaka. In this way, from time immemorial, there have been so many observations, remarks, comments, statements, utterances attributed to Rishis, and it is really good food for thought. I must conclude saying it's not only good food for thought, but it perhaps can help us discover intelligence beyond thought. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Swamiji, for such a wonderful discourse. And as you have rightly mentioned in the theme, there is lots of resonance with Krishna's teaching in every statement that you have made. Thanks a lot. You can close the projection now and we can take questions. Yes.
Right.
People can ask questions or make comments, whatever. Everyone is welcome. Yes, Harshad Bhai, please unmute yourself. Unmute. Yeah.
Yes. Are you able to listen to my voice?
Yes, we are.
Very well.
Thank you, Swamiji. Very, very interesting. It seems that in the ancient India, life was very simple and people had a lot of time to go to look within themselves and go very, very deep and come to something extraordinary state. But that state must be non-verbal, but they have used words to describe, because as Krishnaji says, word is not the thing. The real thing is a matter of anubhuti, a real feeling, experiencing something, and the word comes from that. And all this, what you described, Upanishads, they are very, very beautiful insights, and many philosophers and scientists of the West, they have admired Upanishad. And there is the Western philosophy. I think they, like Descartes said that I think, therefore I am. So it seems to me that Descartes gave a lot of importance to thinking, but the real spirituality, that real intelligence or action, it goes beyond thinking, even beyond this sense of I. What am I? Who am I? And when a person asks such a question, who am I, and feels very, very deeply about the question, then everything goes away, even the thinking goes away, and what remains is impersonal awareness. And that is what you started with today, about the awareness is the ultimate truth, and which is, it doesn't belong to anybody, but it is a state of being in which we feel our connection with everything. So I think this is all I have to say right now. If something else comes, I will come later. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Harshad Bhai. Shakti, you want to say something? And then Dinesh, Mr. Dinesh Waghmare. Shakti, unmute yourself.
This mantra Jyoti Ev Adhumakah reminded me of Krishnamurti's statement, love is a flame without smoke.
Oh.
It comes very near to that. I have a question, Swami ji. मैं इसको हिंदी में ही कहूँगा, अंग्रेजी में नहीं बना पाऊंगा मैं. ये जो अनशनन अन्यो अभिचाक्षिति, ये जो मंत्र है, ये शायद मुंडक के अलावा श्वेताश्वतर में ही शायद आया है, मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा. लेकिन उसके आगे एक और मंत्र है जिसमें आता है, एक उसका चरण है अनिशया शोचति मुह्यमान है, उसी की कंटिन्यूटी में है.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
तो वो जो है मतलब क्या उसका इम्प्लीकेशन क्या है? वो जो दूसरा वाला है जो इन सब चीजों में खोया हुआ है, तो वो उसको जो मोह है, अनिशया शब्द वहां मुझे बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग लगा कि क्योंकि आपने कहा शुरू वाले में प्रज्ञानम ब्रह्म, आपने ब्रह्म को एक तरह से जो अल्टीमेट ट्रूथ है उसके समकक्ष रखा, उसका पर्सनलाइजेशन नहीं किया. तो वो जो अनिशया शोचति मुह्य माने है, उसके बारे में आप कुछ कहिए. थैंक यू.
ठीक है. There are two birds, right? The first bird is the samsari, the worldly, the selfish. So anishaya muhyati shochati muhyamana is said about the first bird, first of all, not about the second bird. The second bird who doesn't eat and is happy, about the second bird this is not said. So why is the first bird described anishaya shochati muhyamana? So the person who is beset with the self, is shochati, often grieves, and muhyamanaha is often deluded, moh ke vash ho jata hai. Now perhaps your doubt is especially on the word anishaya. Anishaya here means anisha, and because of that anisha. And what is anisha? Not being the master, not being the master of situations. Isha is you are the Prabhu. Anisha is you are not the Prabhu, you are not the master, you are helpless. Things are not in your hands. So when we are operating through this I, me and my, whenever something goes wrong, we are so helpless, we begin to cry. When we fail, when we do not win a prize, when somebody whose attention we want doesn't pay attention to us, we are anisha. Isha means you are the master, you can make things happen the way you want. Anisha means you just feel embarrassed. You called a party and many people have come, they are all talking to each other, nobody is talking to you, let's say, just imagine. Then you say, today I have become anisha. So anisha there means being more and more helpless in various circumstances without realizing you only has caused all that because of overly dependence on self-gratifications. So he has no awareness. He is hijacked by the little self in him. Therefore, the first bird is Anisha. The second bird is Isha, master of all situations, no dependence on anything.
Thank you, Swamiji. Mr. Dinesh Waghmare, yes, please go ahead.
Are you able to listen to me, sir?
Yes.
Okay, today we are talking about things which are similar to what JK said. That is fine. There is other side of coin also, which says iti.
Niti.
Iti. No iti is one of the way to look at the things. The other way is iti, which is Chandogya Upanishad says, Sarva Khalvid Brahma. Everything, the manifestation is of the Brahma.
Yeah.
So even the entire Brahma Sutra is on that. So everything is Brahma. And you said that Prajnanam Brahma. Prajnanam means Prajna is also Brahma, part of the Brahma. But Prajna, what my understanding is, it is inside. It is not awareness. Awareness, what my understanding, let me just share my understanding. What they say that Prajna is basically inside, and awareness is the reflected consciousness, which is Chetna, they say. So that is also a portion of the Chetna, is portion of the Chaitanya, means total, as you said, the total, the other bird which is having the total satta or the power, that is a reflected light or a limited power is given to the other bird. And that is awareness basically, and that is Chetna. So they have said that about the Chitta, and Chitta, from Chitta comes the Chetna. So the ordinary person is having the Chetna. And then there are all other these vices and all that and this. So, okay, this there is a way of looking at the things like naiti, but there is also a way looking as iti. This is also so, this is also so, this is also so. And the entire your Bhakti Marg and all, whatever the Narad Bhakti Sutra and all those are based on, everything is the creation of the God, or everything is creation by the Brahma. Of course, Brahma, they said that it doesn't take part in whatever the Upanishads are. They are just the philosophy basically, or Siddhant. They are just talk of the Guru, what Guru, the Shishya has been, was with Guru, and what Guru has shared his knowledge. That is what Upanishad said. But the Darshan portion, third portion, that is the ideology and the total working procedure. So all darshans are having the working procedure. This is what my understanding. I just wanted to share this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Harshad Bhai, then Prasad Mulupuri, sir. Harshad Bhai, please go ahead.
Yeah. Are you able to listen?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Yes. In Upanishad, somewhere it is said that both knowledge and ignorance, both are binding. And Krishna ji is also has said that knowledge is a block in seeing things as they are. So I think there is a similarity there. And Ramkrishna also used to pray to the goddess and say, take away knowledge, take away ignorance. I don't want anything. So that is also like discarding everything, what we know. And I feel there is a great beauty in that, because as long as there's a knowledge, there is nothing new. And so this Vedanta, Krishna ji made like end of knowledge, that kind of interpretation. And that is a very beautiful interpretation, not that at the end of Vedanta, but Vedanta means at the end of Vedanta, but Krishna ji made it like it's a freedom from knowledge. Okay, so there is a similarity, of course, between Upanishad and Krishnamurti. Yes.
Can I say something here?
Yes, please go ahead.
Can we see in this moment itself that when we say that na iti, it is just an explanation given. Otherwise, if we focus on that only, then there immediately a polarity forms between the ultimate truth and this falseness. So totality cannot be, or holistically, if you see, this portion is this aspect or this fragment is also a portion of that ultimate truth, isn't it? So we cannot say that that ultimate truth and is the higher polarity and this is the lower polarity. So na iti is just an explanation given. Similarly, iti is also explanation given. They said that it is beyond this, basically both. The whole Veda and this, they explain that this is this, this is this, this is that. Ultimately, they say na iti. So, but it is beyond that. Whatever we have mentioned is just a portion of the ultimate truth or fragment of the ultimate truth. This is what I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Prasad sir, please go ahead.
Sir, Swamiji has done a wonderful job. He has given all the quotations from the Upanishads. But I have one or two doubts. Firstly, why do we say that case teachings are reflected in Upanishads instead of saying Upanishad teachings are reflected in case? Because obviously, K came just, recently. Upanishads are very ancient. So why don't we say that Upanishadic teachings are reflected in K? That's one thing. Then second thing is, while broadly we have said some excellent quotations are given, but how exactly are they reflected in case teaching? Or how exactly case teaching is reflected in these statements? Whichever way you want to put it. That is number two. And number three, there is, I think somewhere, K has said, he brushed aside whatever Rishis said. He said them, these immature human beings called Rishis. Somewhere he said that. And then there are two dialogues in Awakening of Intelligence with Venkateshananda, Swami Venkateshananda, wherein the Mahavakyas, some Mahavakyas have been torn to pieces. So in this background, I think we confuse ourselves by combining, by mixing K and Upanishads. We can stick to one path, either that or this, instead of trying to see one reflected in the other. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Prasad sir. Thank you. Swami, you want to say something? Unmute, unmute.
Okay. I'll say something, then Harshad ji can also add, I hope. The first two, three things are not important, whether K is reflected in Upanishads or Upanishads are reflected in K. But the last part where you said, why study two streams, why not stick to one? Yeah, one may stick to one also. Finally, you and I go by our own heart. It's like somebody says, why go abroad at all? I never want to leave the shores of India. Fine, one may do that. Somebody else wishes to go see different countries and may settle also somewhere in some foreign country. I think these things are individual choices. Whatever turns out to be helpful to one must do. There should not be some false motives, like somebody goes abroad to show off. That is a problem. Here also, if somebody studies Upanishads just to add a feather on his cap, saying, you know what, I not only know Krishnamurti, I know Upanishads. Recently, I am into Sufism also, and I tell you, give me 2 years, I will be a master of Zen. That kind of approach is wrong. With a learning mind, with an open mind, if one studies several great sources, I think there's nothing wrong. It depends on how one is made. One has to be true to one's conscience. One has to be true to one's own heart. If one's heart longs to reflect a little bit on something said by somebody else, therefore, even a advanced physicist like Erwin Schrödinger studied Upanishads and found some light in it. And of course, professors of philosophy like Arthur Schopenhauer and so on studied Upanishads in great detail. But that doesn't, of course, mean that everybody should study everything. In life, we come across different possibilities and certain things appeal to us. Then we get into them. Probably we must be honest about why we take up something rather than going by a dogma that we should stick to only one or we should stick to two, stick to three. There's no dogma, no standard rule there. So be yourself, and if you are happy with Krishnaji's teachings, you really feel that's giving me all the clarity, giving you all the clarity about life. That's wonderful. There is, so over to Harshad ji.
Yeah. Yes, I would say that any teaching which makes you look at yourself as you are, and you begin to really see something which is true, and that is making you free from many problems which we create, then that teaching is good. Ultimately, one can drop Krishnamurti, one can drop Upanishad, and one can start looking with curiosity, with energy, with attention, and we can find many, many things. And then if we read Krishnamurti, then we say, yes, that is true. What Krishnaji says is true. But just an intellectual understanding is not enough. One has to be alone. The way Rishis looked within themselves, the way Krishnamurti looked within himself, the same way when we begin to look at our own mind and see the real beauty of learning fresh and not through the knowledge acquired from Krishnamurti or Upanishad or any other teaching. That is the real beauty, when we can we really see ourselves as we are without any knowledge, and see whatever is unfolding within us. And that tells you exactly what we are. And that gives us some kind of confidence or authenticity, and not authority. There is no authority. And we are using words, but the real thing is non-verbal. And that is the real beauty of seeing. And that is what Krishnaji was saying. Can you look at a tree or a human being without the word, without thinking? And that is the real beauty. And when a person is able to look at a tree or his wife or husband without the word, a fresh looking, in that there is a love, beauty, all these things exist, and not the dialogue about Krishnamurti and Upanishad or comparing them. Okay, one can compare for the purpose of dialogue, meeting other people, but in our daily life, we don't need all that knowledge. All we need is a curiosity, intensity, and like Krishnaji says, freedom is at the beginning. How do we look at ourselves? And in that, there is something there, that are we really free to look at our own self and not with knowledge of Krishnamurti or Upanishad. Okay, I have finished.
Thank you, Harshad bhai. Thank you. We have Ramkrishna sir. Please go ahead. Then Pradeep Verma and then Dinesh Waghmare.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I draw the attention of everyone here the two conversations of the Swami Venkatesananda with JK in our Awakening of Intelligence, where Swami Venkatesananda brought specifically 4 Mahavakyas of Aham Brahmasmi, Tat Tvam Asi, Ayam Atma Brahma. And he has narrated those 4 Mahavakyas. Then Krishnaji asked him, sir, what is the question? So then Swami Venkatesananda specifically asked K, sir, are they still valid? Do you think they require a revision? Then he asked, what do you mean by these Mahavakyas? And one sentence he has used, Swamiji, consciousness is Brahman. Then Krishnaji said, sir, just because to repeat this, is there not a danger without knowing what it is? Yes, very, very critically went into, sir, these statements. And can we experience that immeasurable thing, unknowable thing? Can it be transmitted to one to another? These are the issues that came further. So, Swami Venkatesananda, sir, is also a very learned person, because we have gone very closely these 2 chapters as a part of our Zoom sessions. And he's also with a very man of wisdom. He has questions like anything to Krishnaji. And ultimately, Swami Venkatesananda says, sir, I'm feeling beyond my words in your presence. And again, they went into the word Vedanta also in this thing. And Chidanandaji knows these things. See, one sentence I think we have to keep in mind, sir. Whenever Krishnaji says, truth can never be repeated. If you repeat it, it becomes lie, unless one realizes and then speak. So that is the constraint. That's why I always see question the role of an interpreter. And it becomes a distortion. That is the only thing, yeah, I think his objection for this. Second point, sir, I wanted to say and conclude. This knowledge itself is a hindrance for realization. That's the point. See, he always spoke of independent of knowledge and independent of time. He spoke of transformation. It has come out very clearly in Professor Anderson dialogues, 18 dialogues with K. Very, very closely, very, very carefully they went into each and every aspect of it. So there they said the knowledge is coming as a hindrance, the process of transformation. I think, sir, I end here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think I want to make one comment, since many of us have been associated with Smriti schools. I think a blanket statement like knowledge is a hindrance to understanding is not the right thing to do. I think we should say that knowledge has its limitations, so it should be placed at the right place. That would be more apt, I feel. I think this is what I want to say. Then we can go to Mr. Pradeep Verma and then Mr. Dinesh Waghmare. Pradeep ji, please go ahead.
Yes. I am audible, sir?
Yes.
Is it
you are.
audible?
Yes, you are.
Audible?
Yes, you are. Yes.
See, my main concern is how the perception of reality. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello?
Please go on.
Pradeep
Yes.
ji, go ahead.
My concern is whether the perception of reality has percolated down to us right now. You see, perception of reality, how it has percolated to us. You see, in Vedanta, Satyam Jnanam Anantam. That is one thing. Then Sat Chit Anand, another one. Then Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. These are the expressions of intelligence to Shankaracharya and other contemporaries. Then intelligence expressed differently in Buddha, Mahavir, and JK, where awareness was emphasized, ultimately culminating in love, which is there in Christ also, Sufism also, love, and the symbol became heart. Although JK has talked about it, mind and heart, but we are still not very clear what the heart is. Then, if reality is Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya, then most of our concerns are in the domain of Mithya. You see, we are all Sansari people. 99.9% we are dealing with Mithya only then. So all our concerns regarding preservation, conservation, pollution, compassion, wars, you name it, it's all in Mithya. Then I have two very basic questions. Whether an aware person also needs mind. The second question is whether truth remains the same in all conditions. Of course, I can see the expression changes from one to another in time and space. But especially about
Pradeep, your voice is breaking.
Sir, please put off your video and then say. We don't want to see you. Listen.
Try only audio. That
is it better now, sir?
Yes, it is. Yes.
So this is my basic question. I want some clarification from Chidanandaji about this Mithya business, Jagat Mithya and Maya. And what is at present, how we are living and how much of it is regarding that Brahma, that everything, that great thing, when everything is same in holistic view, everything is everything else, even scientifically, everything is everything else. And so what are we discussing now? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pradeep. Chidanandaji might like to say something.
Yeah. Everything is mithya. Yeah, Vedanta says that. But one way to look at it is, even though 5 centuries have passed since man discovered that there is no true sunrise or sunset, It's the earth which rotates around its axis. We continue to enjoy sunrise and sunset. We may be MSc in physics. We may know it very well. The sun is not rising, but we do enjoy the sight of sunrise. Likewise, if one knows everything is mithya, it doesn't come in the way of intelligent vyavahar. व्यवहार कर सकते हैं ये जानते हुए कि अंत में कौन हारेगा कौन जीतेगा ये सब बड़ा सवाल ही है. But फिलहाल you put your best foot forward and go. So mithya doesn't make us, sit down and stay idle. We do our best in every situation, and we appreciate the truth of that statement. Everything is mithya. So grahasthas better look after their family very well, and better give a good meal to a sannyasi if he comes by once in a while. Let them do all that, knowing everything is mithya. तो अपने बच्चों को भी अच्छी तरह देखना और सन्यासी को भिक्षा भी देना जरूर, ये जानते हुए कि ये सन्यासी भी मिथ्या है बच्चे भी मिथ्या है, लेकिन खाना जरूर देना सबको.
Wonderful.
Rightly said.
क्योंकि हम आने वाले हैं कभी आपके द्वार.
Pradeep, do you want to say something? You have raised your hand.
Just like that, because ultimately he said that although scientifically this appears to be rising, is not actually rising, sun is not rising or something like that, but still we enjoy it. So ultimately what matters is enjoyment. So whosoever enjoys anywhere becomes meaningful. That means that if you are able to enjoy, it is meaningful. Is it that?
Yes, you must maintain your equipoise. Yeah, call it enjoy or call it maintaining your equipoise. Another language is don't let the love in your heart suffer because of happenings around you.
Thank you, Swamiji. Yes, Dinesh ji, please go ahead, then Shakti ji. Yes, Mr. Dinesh Waghmare.
Yes, sir. Are you able to listen to me?
Yes, yes.
Not any problem. Sir, I just wanted to give my observation. Why one should be fearful to read any other literature? Why one should make an image of Krishnamurti and stick to it and make Krishnamurti's words also as knowledge? It is very clear that if you are having any curiosity and if you are not satisfied or you are having some inner demand for reading others, you may read it. Why one should be fearful? Another thing is there are different, as said clearly even by Krishnamurti also and others, that the same truth is expressed by different persons in a different way. So if you are having any need, such need or one can go into it. And why one should be even afraid of getting confused? If it's today he may be confused, but tomorrow he may get the right thinking for that or the right way of looking at it. So that's why we are organizing all the Zoom meetings and all that, so that we can understand each other and we can have other aspects also of the dialogue, and we try to understand what are the things beyond the words. Am I right, sir? Dubey sir?
Not only your aspect only.
Mr. Dubey sir.
I fully agree with you. I fully agree with you, Dinesh, because it all depends on us. I mean, if I want to read Buddhism, want to read Upanishad, and want to read Krishnamurti, it's purely my choice. But drawing comparison is the one which creates problems. But if one teaching leads me to the other, leads me to realization, or whatever you call it, I don't think anything wrong in it. You can read anything. for intellectual understanding or for liberation or, for total understanding as we call it, or awareness, there's nothing wrong in it. I fully agree with you. Shakti ji, please. Unmute yourself.
Yes. This is related to Mr. Prasad's question about this Upanishad and the ancient literature and Krishnamurti. And this is true that if one wishes to experiment with what Krishnamurti is saying, or if what one wishes to experiment with what Gita is saying, in that case, in that experimentation, any intrusion of some other approach might create confusion. But at the same time, it is important, and here I will become a little bit personal because it's related. You see, when I was in school, college, Sanskrit was my favorite subject, and I read these books as literature, and they were beautiful. And I thought that these are all fictional. They are beautiful. With somebody has written them with good faith. Later on, when I listened to Krishnamurti, then suddenly I realized, I remembered those things which I was thinking they are fictional. And I'll give you just one example, because when I read in Krishnamurti, the flame of attention burns away all hate. And I remember from Ishavasya Upanishad, Tato na vijugupsate, and Krishna's statement that Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam. So this made me understand that those books were not all fictional. There may be mixed things in them. So somewhere they ignite each other for me. They ignite the inquiry. And for this, I think this is important, not to become a fanatic either of Upanishads or of Krishnamurti. That is enough and nothing else. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shakti. I think we'll take a question from Ravi and then Harshad Bhai. Ravi, please unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm coming back to iti and neti. It may be my speculation, guess, or intelligence, which is saying that, but I do not claim it. I think neti is approach where the person is trying to find out the truth through ye bhi nahi hai, ye bhi nahi hai, ye bhi nahi hai. And he is curious, he is learning, he is a student. And iti is the person who already reached there, and he sees that everything is there, everything is that. When Ramkrishna or Krishnamurti reached onto that level, he sees that कि कार भी मैं ही हूँ, सड़क भी मैं ही हूँ, टायर भी मैं ही हूँ, और टायर के नीचे जो घिस रहा है वो भी वही है. So that is iti. And when you see, when you negate and when you are trying to learn, ये भी नहीं है, ये भी नहीं, so that is the process. It says. It may be, I do not know, I am not into scripture, so I do not know whether iti wala Upanishad is kind of that thing. At the end, he says that everything is that. I am that. The second thing, action versus inaction. My understanding is that when there is no self, then action becomes inaction. And where is self? Where is there is self, then all the inaction become action. When Karna says ki left hand shouldn't know the what right hand had given, so that is inaction. The right hand is giving, the person is giving, but the self is not there. Thank you.
Well expressed. I appreciate those submissions.
Yes, Harshad Bhai, please go ahead.
Yes, I would like to make a comment about that Brahma Satya and Jagat Mithya. What I understand by Brahma Satya, it refers to something impersonal, that pure awareness which exists when there is no thinking. But this Jagat Mithya, Mithya Jagat, is created by thinking. And the thinking creates many problems, like we get attached to the Jagat, to family, to property, money, and all these things are temporary. Whereas the Brahma Satya, it exists. And it exists for people who have become uh, free from the self, and can feel that there is something which is not personal. And Jagat Mithya is like getting caught into the relationship, and relationship with people, with things, even with ideas. So that is something which can lead to problems. Whereas the Brahma is something impersonal, and it is a state of freedom. Okay, I finish.
Thank you, Harshad. Mr. Pradeep Verma, and then Harshad, Dinesh Waghmare.
Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So one interesting point came to my mind, M-I-N, mind, that in Marathi people say, you see, that Jnanis say, Anna hai Purna Brahma. Anna hai Purna Brahma. So, when we were discussing about Mithya and Brahma and all that, and Anna belongs to this area, and it is called as Purna Brahma. So, and the most of the thinking is around Anna only, globally. You see, the whole thinking is around Anna only. So this has to be seen because whether these things are separate, whether that light in us is not because of Anna, light in us is working, it gets immediately fused the moment Anna is not there. So thinking of something almost alien may not probably help. That is what I think.
Yes, Dinesh ji.
Can I share my understanding on this? My understanding is what they are trying to say, the Brahma is the basically substratum which is having the real power or real satta, but it doesn't take part in any of the creation of the world or making the world. But it has got the energy associated with it. Just for the explanation portion, they have said that the energy and Brahma, just to explain the things, they said that it is separate. And it said the Sat portion is the Brahma portion, Chaitanya portion is the energy portion, and with the Sat Chait and Anand, it is having its own loving this thing inherent in it. So the energy creates the world. So energy is truth, but the creation of energies are not truth. What Mithya word says, what Mithya is explained by the Shankaracharya, according to my understanding, is that whatever exists, since the creation, whatever it creates, it exists. So it can be said to be truth. But after it is a time-bound thing, it again goes off. So we cannot say that it is non-truth. It is truth. At some places it is not there. So it is neither a truth nor not truth. And somewhere there is no, and it is beyond, it creates a new things. So the word is mithya means it cannot be explained in words. But so these are transient things, and this is a time phenomena. So we can say that these are mithya, but not the original energy which is creating all these things. It is not mithya. So Maya basically is not mithya, but creations of Maya are mithya. So Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya. So Jagat is the creation of by the Maya. The Jagat is Mithya. That's what they are trying to say. So when we say iti, in iti, they say that everything is the creation of Maya, but since the origin is from the Maya, so it is also the same, since it has got the same root, so they say that this is also that. So Anna is Purna Brahma, means Anna is also created by the Brahma only. So everything has been created in Brahma only. So Brahma Sutra, if we study, Shankaracharya has very clearly clarified all these things there. So Shankaracharya has basically given both the things. Naiti also is a one way of looking at the things and one of the way of the looking at the things, and there is another way which is iti. So in this way also you can look at the things, and the other way also. But what they ultimately said, there is a Shastra Prachiti, means whatever the literature or your Vedanta and all these are saying, but that is Shastra Prachiti, then you have to understand from the Guru or whatever the learned person is there, and you have to sit with him, that is Upanishad, and then you should have the Atma Prachiti, means ultimately you should keep aside all these things and go for your own means working on that. So we also find in Krishnamurti, many times he has said, are you doing it, sir? Or are you working on it? So are you just understanding me verbally? Or you are having a look at the non-verbal things also? This is what I want to submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Dinesh ji. I don't see any questions now.
So you have to announce our next Sunday's lecture, and then we can take Pradeep Verma also. He's raising one second.
Let's hear Pradeep ji, and then I'll announce the next one.
Yes. He's last but one.
Okay.
He's the last one, yes. Yes, Pradeep ji, go ahead.
Everybody understands. When everybody can understand this Anna hai Purna Brahma. And without Anna, nothing happens. After 2 days, if you ask someone, where is that light inside? So this connection of Anna with Brahma. So everybody can understand this Anna hai Purna Brahma. This is what simple note. Thank you.
Thank you, Pradeep ji. I think we have come to the end of the talk now. I want to thank Chidanandaji for being with us and accepting our offer to be the guest speaker this evening. Thank you, sir. And next Sunday we have Dr. Deepti Malhotra. She's an educationist, and she would be speaking on education of the educator, teaching, learning to be mature and free. So next Sunday, 17th at 11 a.m., you are all welcome to join. Thank you all. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Dubey. Thank you very much, Dubey.
Thank you. Good night.
Next Thursday, we will be having Chidanandaji again with us. Thank you. Modak, you can now close it.